I'm Lesego Mokonane. In your top story, barely a month before the elections in Zimbabwe, some hiccups have started coming to the fore. Tinashe Janasi, leader of the newly launched Ideal Zimbabwe Party, has alleged capture of the judiciary, army, police and the state media by the ruling ZANU-PF. He says that his party will not be contesting the elections for the same reason. Not so long ago, Janasi had declared himself the new Zimbabwean president. Apart from alleging that the army is running the elections and that the voter roll is stuffed with dead people, Janasi accuses Emmerson Mnangagwa of being an illegitimate president who cannot oversee an election. He also alleges the ruling party of using state resources to campaign. And now joining us for more on this, we have Tinashe Janasi, President of Ideal Zimbabwe, and we are also joined by Amos Dangwa, President of the Economic Reform Assembly. A very warm welcome to you, gentlemen, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for inviting us to your show.
And now, Tinashe, you have alleged that there is a capture of the judiciary, the army, the police, and the state media by the ruling ZANU-PF party. What evidence do you have when it comes to this allegation?
Okay. Zimbabwe being a military state, meaning that Zimbabwe is a country run by the army. The first evidence is that, Mugabe, when Mugabe was resigning, when he thought of resigning and appointed his right-hand man, who is Emmerson Mnangagwa, they staged a coup, which was managed. There was no coup in Zimbabwe, as the world is being fooled to believe. It was a way to, because ZANU-PF is not supported in Zimbabwe. People are suffering. They've brought in poverty, they've brought fear, they've brought oppression. So it was a way to make Zimbabweans believe in ZANU-PF again, taking Mnangagwa as a hero. When Mnangagwa has been the right-hand man to Mugabe, when they were killing more than 30,000 rebels, when they were killing any person who had a voice of conscience. So the army coming in to play party politics. In other countries where there's democracy, you can't find a ruling party refreshing itself, and then they use the state army. So in our country, the state army is used to do that. The state intelligence is used to spy on opposition people and to abduct and to kill. Abductions and assassinations in Zimbabwe are sponsored by the government. So Mnangagwa is a person who is actually is not running the country. He's not a president of the country. The person who is more powerful in Zimbabwe is General Chiwenga, who was the army commander, who just resigned for a few days and then appointed the Minister of Defense. In a democratic situation, you can't find the Minister of Defense again doubling as a minister, as a deputy president. It shows you that the people they're just holding on to the army. Being a vice president is a bigger post that you should relinquish other posts like the minister. But they want a grip on the army. As we speak right now, the army is spread across the country. They are campaigning for the ruling party, and the rigging of the elections is done. Mnangagwa is a winner. So it's more like they are window dressing the democracy. People Chamisa is campaigning all over. It's a project of the ruling party.
Let me bring in Amos into this conversation. What is your reaction on the capture of the judiciary, the army, the police and the state media by the ZANU-PF?
Well, when you look at the situation currently which is happening in our country, there is definitely a capture in the judiciary, and in terms of when you look at ZBC, which is actually a state-owned enterprise, the coverage in terms of the opposition political parties is so limited. It's now mostly focusing on the MDC and the ZANU-PF. So the idea that we have a political party, we have two political parties which are actually representing Zimbabwe, it's actually, what I can say is, it's a myth. And when you look at the way, the representation in terms of what they stand for, in terms of the policies for the country, they don't actually have anything which they have to offer at the current moment. Look at the squabbles. Look at the squabbles in MDC. Look at the squabbles even in ZANU-PF. There was rigging already in ZANU-PF as we speak. So the whole thing, thing which started off as as a thing to say we are going to have a free and fair elections. You tend to doubt whether this thing is going to be or definitely being accomplished or not. So I personally dispute this kind of, actually as a party we are actually disputing this whole
But now,
thing.
is there enough evidence to make sure that ZANU-PF can't run away from these allegations that you're talking about, or more needs to be done on this?
The whole thing is the constitution. We need to look at the whole ZEC as an entity. Is it representing Zimbabwe as we speak? It's not. Previously, when I was in one of the meetings where ZEC was actually representing, and I highlighted, the fact that during their ways of notifying the public on their meetings, they don't actually put that across for everyone to know that there are certain meetings which are supposed to be held for anything which concerns the citizens of Zimbabwe. So what we are saying is we don't have that openness in our political environment. So we are saying, why don't we have a situation where even when you look at the 2013 or 2008, you have an audit on how the elections were rigged, so that at least when we come forward to the next elections, we know that everything which has been looked at has been, has actually been put on the table for everyone to know that definitely we are going to have a transparent way of running the elections.
Tinashe, what more have you done as the president of Ideal Zimbabwe to call the government out on these allegations?
You don't have a platform in my country to address any issue to the government. Because, for example, let me tell you, we call it the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, ZEC, the independent body, so-called independent, which runs the elections. The leader of that body is a CIO. That's a Central Intelligence Organization. Secondly, she is a High Court judge, meaning if the elections are disputed, I should, as an opposition leader, I should take a petition to the High Court, where she sits as a judge. That means she's going to judge her own mistakes again. Thirdly, her husband is the coup announcer, General Sibusiso Moyo, who announced the coup, who is the top official of the ruling party, who is the current Minister of Foreign Affairs. So, basically, if an opposition leader can win the election, it means she has rendered her husband jobless. In a democratic society, you can't have a referee. Your husband is a player in the election, and then the wife is a referee. Already, she's compromised. Again, we do have Russia. Russia is still, being alleged to have rigged American elections. And as we speak right now in Zimbabwe, Russia is a major player. So Israel, there's a company called Nikuv, the intelligence company whatsoever, which has been rigging elections in Zimbabwe. So currently, elections in Zimbabwe are just done because the opposition parties in Zimbabwe, they are most of them, let me say maybe entirely all their projects, they are there to fool the world that in Zimbabwe every 5 years we have got elections, But we know that the elections are not free and fair. But it's a matter of just sponsoring. We have got more than 130 opposition parties in Zimbabwe. You can imagine in America where they've got more than 16 trillion GDP. But Zimbabwe has got about economy of about 4 billion GDP. But it can have, in America they've got 2 political parties. In Zimbabwe we've got almost, by the time of elections, we can have almost 200 political parties. They are being sponsored by Emerson Mnangagwa. So that if real parties can pull out to say we need reforms, maybe, let's say out of 200 parties, 5 pulls out, 195 remains, it becomes maybe a 95%, which is participating. It looks like the elections is still genuine. So it's really a crisis. And the reason why Zimbabweans are suffering for the past 38 years is because the ruling party, they are just looting. There's no policy, there's no agenda for development in our country. The agenda is to retain power. Hence, they can go to the extent of fooling Mugabe being removed. Mugabe has stolen a lot of our diamonds, of all our resources, and with his wife, Grace Mugabe. But we thought Mugabe would be arrested. Nothing. He's enjoying his life. Emerson Mnangagwa, as we speak, is one of the richest people in Zimbabwe. He almost owns all the gold mines in Zimbabwe. General Chiwenga, the vice president, he is in partnership with the Chinese in our diamonds. So these are just the criminals, a criminal syndicate, a mafia, which has hijacked the government so that they use politics to avoid going to prison. Currently, our government is run by the most dangerous and the most feared people. Emerson Mnangagwa, General Chiwenga, and the parents Shiri are the people who were involved in our genocide called Gukura Hundi, whereby more than 30,000 mostly developed people were killed. And in 2008, when Tsvangirai won the election, these are the three people who refused Tsvangirai to be appointed the president. So the most dangerous people are currently running our country. And we are surprised with the SADC and the AU. You know, these bodies are there to protect dictatorship. Because the leadership in Africa is there to just loot. The poverty, the suffering of black people in Africa, it's as a result of few people hoarding and looting.
But now I hear your points, but I understand that your party will not be contesting these elections because of the state capture that is taking place, and you've mentioned a lot of other points as well. Yeah. But now the people of Zimbabwe need parties that will stand up for them when corruption is taking place, which I'm assuming that you are the party that the people of Zimbabwe should be voting for, as you have been saying that you have noticed all the state capture that is taking place. But why don't you want to continue being that alternative voice for the people in Zimbabwe to take them out of poverty?
Thank you. The purpose of doing an election is to express people's will. That means if 5 people want to vote for my party, they should vote for my party. And the result should be coming out as 5 people voted for my party. But in our country, it's different. We have got an ancestor who is a registrar general, who is almost maybe 90 years or 85 years old, who is there to manipulate the voters' roll. Our voters' roll has got people who are dead more than 20 years ago. If you're outside the country, you are still on the voters' roll. They will vote for you. Secondly, 2013, okay, let me take you back to 2008, when Morgan Tsvangirai defeated Robert Mugabe. The election took more than a month to be announced. And when it was announced, they said, Morgan Tsvangirai, you didn't win enough. And then there was a runoff, a rerun to be done. People were killed and abducted and by Chiwenga, the current vice president, and the murderer, Emerson Mnangagwa, who is currently the president, and the parents Shiri, the genocide kingpin. So people were killed and abducted and whatsoever. Then we go to 2013, the last election. Morgan Tsvangirai challenged the election, saying he was, robbed. The High Court never brought the ballot boxes for recount. If an opposition leader challenged an election, he should be given the ballot boxes. But apparently he was not given. After that, he had to withdraw his petition. The Chief Justice by then was Justice Jilausiku. They wanted to charge Morgan Tsvangirai for withdrawing his petition. What is the purpose of challenging an election and then you are not given the ballot boxes for recount? What do we learn from that? We learn that the results which were announced in Zimbabwe and what was in the boxes is two different things. Hence, the person who challenged the election was not given, Morgan Tsvangirai was not given the boxes for recount. What happened in America? When Hillary Clinton was not much happy with the result of the election, what they call the swing states, he was given the boxes. And when they counted, it was exactly the same. In Zimbabwe, they don't care what is in the box. When people are going to vote, it doesn't matter. we know by now that the election is done and sealed. Emerson Mnangagwa is won. So what we are saying as I do Zimbabwe is that last month when I was launching my party in Zimbabwe, I've declared myself the civilian president because Mnangagwa is just a military stooge. General Chiwenga was supposed to be the president. But because the world was watching, he had to put a stooge, which is Emerson Mnangagwa, so that the world would say Zimbabwe is under civilian rule, when it's under the military. So I've declared myself the new civilian president of Zimbabwe, so that I represent the poor, the oppressed, the impoverished. To say, Zimbabweans, what we need now is ideal fire revolution. We need to realize that as 15 million people, we can't be oppressed by 3 devils, which is Mnangagwa, Chiwenga, and Perenzishiri.
So but then I don't understand, does this mean that it allows you to now pull out of contesting?
Okay. I can't contest because the person who is overseeing the election, Emerson Mnangagwa, is illegitimate president. So, the upcoming election to us, it's a congress for ZANU-PF. Because the state media, they capture it, the intelligence, they capture it, the army, is captured. So we need, so in the national election, I'm uncontested. Because I can't participate in a ZANU-PF congress when I'm not a member of ZANU-PF.
Let me bring in...
so it means the winner of the upcoming election is a ZANU-PF person. So right now I'm urging Zimbabweans, we want to rise and drive these devils into the gates of hell. Zimbabwe needs a revolution. We don't need an election. Because if we do an election, we are actually playing their game. We need a peaceful revolution and take them out of power because they've failed, they've wasted our 38 years. If peaceful doesn't work, a full-blown war.
Let me bring in Amos into this conversation. Just quickly, what needs to be done to expose these allegations of corruption so that other parties are not coming out and saying that they will not be contesting in the next coming elections?
You know, let me revolve around the question. You know, I think Zimbabweans, we're missing the point. We're in a crisis, and we need to acknowledge that. And we need to actually put our heads together, regardless of what the wrongs and what not which has happened between everyone. We need to acknowledge that there's a problem in Zimbabwe. As long as we continue pointing fingers to ourselves and say, you know what, you are the ones who's wrong and this other person is wrong, we will never accomplish anything. So basically what we need to accept is that we are in an economic situation, economic crisis situation. And what is it that we need to do? We need to put our heads together. We don't have to continue pointing fingers to ourselves to say, you know what, this person is wrong and this person is wrong. Because it will never give us any headway. So basically, as ERA, we have said to ourselves, you know what, why don't we all as Zimbabweans understand that the biggest problem in our country is the economy? And how do we accomplish that to actually put ourselves out of that? We need to work together. Regardless of whatever the past, whatever has happened before, this will never give us any headway. So what we need is to ensure that we work together, find a solution to our problem, maybe, you know what, even forget and forget about the past and find a solution on how best we can actually accomplish this. This is not going to work as long as we continue fighting together and saying, you know what, this person has done this. And this, you know, even as a family, we have differences. So we need to understand that we are Zimbabweans and we are a family. And as a family, what is it that we need to do? We need to work together. And how do we come out of that? We need to work together as well. So the whole issue is, how do we work together to find a solution to our problem in Zimbabwe? Do we need to continue saying ZANU-PF has done that, or MDC has done that, or ERA has done that, or IDEAL has done that? It's not going to give us any headway. So the best solution is to put our heads together, have a common ground, find a solution to our problem. We are now a laughing stock. We actually broadcasting in another country, and this is not really what we are supposed to be. We need to be working together to find a solution on how best we can actually forgive each other and move on. Because It's not helping
and
us.
now, Amos, I want us to move on to another discussion that I want to also talk about that involves Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe's former President Robert Mugabe once again failed to attend a parliamentary hearing today. He was due to give evidence on corruption in the diamond mining industry at the hearing. Lawmakers are seeking to question Mugabe on his 2016 claim that the country lost $15 billion in revenue due to corruption and foreign exploitation in the diamond sector. Mugabe was ousted from office in November after 37 years in power. He had failed to attend the hearing last week too without giving reasons. The committee on its part has offered to interview Mugabe at his residence. Now joining us over the phone line for more details is Zenzele Ndebele, Zimbabwean journalist, and still in studio we have Tinashe Jonas and Amos Dangwa. Thank you so much for joining us, Zenzele. Now, this is not the first time Mugabe failed to attend a parliamentary hearing where he was due to give evidence on corruption in the diamond mining industry. Now, reasons have not been given again. What more do you know?
From what we know, basically, is that this is the second time that the former president was invited to parliament and he did not turn up. And there were no specific reasons why he had not turned up. And the Parliament committee actually said that they were going to write him another letter and invite him to turn up on the 11th of June. And if he doesn't turn up, then they are going to summon him to Parliament. Basically, they have a few options now because before the new constitution in 2013, the Parliament had the powers to actually order detention of for an individual, an MP or anyone who didn't come to Parliament. They would charge you for contempt of Parliament. But that clause was actually removed in the Constitution of 2013. So currently, their options are limited. They can only invite him, and if he doesn't come, they can also probably write another letter. The question is basically, what is it that they want to do? Because the guys that have come before them, Obet Mpofu and other ministers who were in the diamond industry, really didn't give convincing answers on what happened to the money. So probably this is just a statement to try and please people by just calling the president. But I don't think the former president. But I don't think there's really something or much that they can do to actually get answers from the president. But also maybe what people keep asking themselves is that the president, former president, not come willingly, or he was stopped by the current administration not to come to Parliament because it might implicate them in the diamond.
And now, Zenzele, according to reports, it is said that Mugabe is not being prosecuted. How true is this?
Mugabe is not being what?
Is not being prosecuted.
Well, yeah, this is not a prosecution because all what they want to do is to call him to Parliament to give evidence on what he knows about the diamonds. Because all these diamond saga started with him in 2016 when he said over 15 billion had been lost through leakages in the diamond industry. So everyone has been saying that 15 billion worth of diamonds have been lost, and they want to find out from him where did he get the $15 billion figure, who was in charge, or where did this money go? And it's more like getting answers rather than actually prosecuting him. So he's not being arrested, he's not being prosecuted, but the committee just wants to gather evidence on what happened with the 15 billion, which he said disappeared while he was still the president.
And now the committee has offered to interview Mugabe at his residence. Has Mugabe agreed to this? Do you know anything about this?
So far, we don't know whether he actually agreed, because all what they do, usually they write a letter inviting you to Parliament and you don't respond. If you are going to come, you just go there. So most of the times, people are invited by Parliament to not respond, to say, I'm coming. They usually write when they are not coming. But they've not heard from Mugabe, so there's not been any official communication from Mugabe on why he is not turning up, whether he wants the venue to be changed to his house. No one really has the information. So they just keep hoping that one of these days he's going to turn up to Parliament and give evidence.
Mugabe's authoritarian regime was accused of siphoning off diamond profits, and we understand that the Mines Committee chair wants to find out more information around the diamond profits. Now, we understand that journalists were able to actually communicate with the committee. What are some of the questions that they need Mugabe to answer? Did they give you this information?
Basically, the main question that people want to answer from Mugabe is, when he talked about the 15 billion, where did he get this figure? Because 15 billion is a lot of money. Zimbabwe's budget is about 4 billion a year. So if he's saying 15 billion worth of diamonds was lost, he's saying about 3-year budget or 4-year budget was lost through, the leakages or selling diamonds illegally. So people want to know, how did he arrive at the figure? Who told him that? But also to say who was involved, because from what we know, many companies that were involved in the diamond, the mining, were actually owned by the army, or the state had a certain ownership in it. So who were the culprits who were involved in the mining of diamonds, or who actually leaked the diamonds or took the diamonds and stole them out of Zimbabwe without the government actually benefiting? So that is the main question that people want to know, to ask him on how did he arrive at the 15 billion? Who was actually calculating, and what method was used? Is Zimbabwe's diamond industry that big to the extent that they can lose 15 billion and still remain with something out of it?
And now we understand that the committee mine has now said that they're going to be asking Mugabe these questions. But now, who else besides Mugabe can be asked for an interview on these allegations?
Well, the committee has called the former minister of former Minister of Mines, Obed Mbofu. They also called another former Minister of Mines, the one who was there just before the coup. They called the different players in the diamond industry, and really there's nothing much that has come out of it. What is known, we know for a fact that from the reports that were published in Parliament, there was a deal between the Chinese military to mine diamonds in Zimbabwe. And there was, of course, a lot of illegal diamonds that were sold in Zimbabwe, and some of them went out of the system, and the government really did not get the value or the money that they was expecting to get. But there is no one who knows with certainty how much was lost and where did this go. So most of these people have come in, usually the former ministers, directors of companies who were involved in the mining of diamonds, have not really given satisfactory answers. And some of them have not asked or answered the pertinent questions that they want. We know that the former minister of mining, Obed Mbofu, refused to answer some of the questions. And there is little that the Parliament Committee can do.
And now we know that the committee has gone as far as saying that they will actually go to Mugabe's residence to actually get those answers from him and find out more around the scandal. But now, have they estimated in terms of how long will it take in terms of trying to actually get answers from Mugabe, because this is the second time that they have struggled to actually get an interview with him?
Well, from what we know, they've invited Mugabe to appear before this committee on the 11th of June. So probably they'll wait for the 11th of June for Mugabe to come or not to come. Then we'll see what they're going to do. Like I said before, they have limited options, basically. They can try and summon him and all those kind of things, but he might decide not to come. So I don't see them actually taking Mugabe to court for that. So.
All right, it seems as if we have lost Zenzele Ndebele, Zimbabwean journalist, just giving us more details. I'm just going to come back into studio as I am joined by Tinashe and Amos. I want to get your reaction on this. We understand that this is the second time that the former president has not answered to the committee. I want to find out, what is your reaction and what do you think the way forward should be? Because it seems as if the committee is bending backwards to try and get these answers. At the end of the day, is it necessary to actually go as far as that?
Okay. As I say, the game plan for ZANU-PF is to fool Zimbabweans. Because so far they've done it for 38 years, so they are motivated to continue. Mugabe is supposed to be prosecuted, to be arrested. When you are a president, you oversee the safety of the country, the safety of the resources of the country. But if you can stand up and say 15 billion is missing, and telling the citizens, so what do you want to do? Do you want the citizens to rise and investigate? When resources are missing, when people are being abducted, when people are being killed in your governance. So the point is, they are fooling Zimbabweans. Mugabe and his wife and the same people, the Mnangagwa, the Chiwengas, are the people who collectively steal the money. These committees they are waste of people's time and an insult to the intelligence of Zimbabweans, because right now, look, Mnangagwa has been a president now. He has been arresting this G40 whatever, Chombo. They said they found 10 million in his house. And the case is disappearing. Jonathan Moyo is hiding the Mzukulu of Mugabe, this Patrick Joao, who has stolen a lot of money also in Zimbabwe. Now they are negotiating to come back. It's a drama. ZANU-PF is building a propaganda economy. You can't sustain a country with the propaganda economy. They are just spending too much money in these useless side shows to fool Zimbabweans. People like Mnangagwa should be arrested and locked up because he's a criminal. He's a killer. People like Chiwenga should be locked up. Because everything they are doing, they are protecting what they are looting. As we are sitting here, they are busy looting the country dry. So Zimbabweans should rise right now and say enough is enough. ZANU-PF, we know how you rule. You have brought 90% suffering in this country. So ZANU-PF, whether they win elections or they lose, Zimbabweans should stand now and rise, and we take them out. We can't negotiate freedom. We can't beg for freedom. The freedom project is not a free thing. If some should sacrifice their lives. As I'm sitting here, whether they arrest me or they kill me, I don't care. Because I can't delete my conscience and look aside when people are suffering. And right now, because they are sponsoring Mnangagwa and versus Chamisa, the world is looking at a two-race election. There's no two-race. The Chamisa who people have got hope for, 2015 somewhere there, Mnangagwa is owning a petrol company, garages like engine here, called Zwa Petroleum. The same Chamisa was the lawyer who represented the workers who was representing Mnangagwa when Mnangagwa fired the workers without compensation. And Chamisa represented Mnangagwa. So as we speak, Chamisa is a family lawyer, a company lawyer of Mnangagwa. The same Chamisa has got trucks which are working for Mugabe's companies. So this Chamisa is an intelligence officer, is a project of ZANU-PF to fool Zimbabweans that Chamisa Chamisa is going to win. He's young. He's not going to win. And Chamisa, where he sits now, he should be ashamed that he's giving Zimbabweans false hope when he knows that this election is run by the military.
Let me bring in Amos into this conversation. What's your reaction around this?
Look, Zimbabwe has been run by the same family, which is ZANU-PF, from 1918. And then it goes back. If my history serves me well, I think ZANU-PF was formed around 1964, somewhere. Now, this is a family. And we are saying, 2018, let's arrest this family. People who have been staying together, we have been dining together, we've been phoning each other almost on a daily basis. And then you say, let's arrest this person. Let's summon him to come on to parliament. The other day, I was actually watching this committee, which was actually, the only person who was talking during that debate was Themba Mliswa. And the rest of the other individuals were actually busy on a cell phone. And I'm saying the level of concentration, the level of, the input in the whole system is not there. So what is it that we look forward to achieving with this particular committee? We won't achieve anything. That's why, hence I was saying, you know what? Let's put a demarcation. Gentlemen, we've messed up. We're drawing a line. From now onwards, whoever does this, let's find a solution. We arrest. We forget about the past. Because forgiveness, I remember well, Mandela got to a point where he said, let's forgive and forget. And that's what we need to do in Zimbabwe. We need to forgive and forget. We will continue digging in our archives. Everyone has got his own, bad side of it, of life. So we are saying, let's find a solution and find a way of moving forward. The more we look at what the history has for us, the more we'll continue moving on the same position. So the issue of Mugabe being summoned onto that, it's not a reality. As long as the current government is still running the country, there's no way we can achieve that. So hence I'm saying, it's a dream. They can continue. You can have 1 or 2 people from the committee who are actually gunning for that, but it's not going to achieve anything for us. So that's why I'm saying, let's move forward.
So you're saying that you should rather do away with this committee that has been formed?
This committee is all diluted. Remember, ZANU-PF in its operations, it had CIOs. So the chances are within that committee, we have more CIOs within the committee. So the chances of it achieving its objective, they are very slim. That's why hence I'm saying, you know what, we need a new leader, someone who's going to acknowledge that there are wrongs which have been done before. And these wrongs have to be moved on. We need to forget about them and move forward, because it's not going to achieve anything. We can continue and pointing fingers. I can tell you, most of the ZANU-PF committee members within ZANU-PF, they're all dirty. But the issue is, do you think these people are going to actually arrest each other? It's not possible. It's 37 years of working together, and then you say, I arrested my friend.
But now, what we have also noticed is that the committee is saying that they will even go to Mugabe's residence to actually just hear from him. They're not looking to prosecute him. They just want to hear the story, and they're saying that they have some questions for him. Yeah. What do you think?
You can question the person, but does it mean you get any answers from that person? It's at Mugabe's, actually what can he has to be the one who answers. He has to think of how he can answer that particular question. The guy is 84 years, 85 years. Give him a break. Forget about that. Let's focus on the things which you have to move from now. Because this issue of bringing Mugabe back, it's not going to achieve anything. The guy was so dirty, and you know it. Why didn't you, all these guys could see the dirtiness in him? MDC was part of the whole issue in the 2008. Why didn't they bring all these issues before? They want to bring them out because he's out. Why didn't they bring them in the first place? So it's not going to give us any headway.
So at this point, it seems like everybody's hands are dirty, and there's not even one person that can be questioned on this.
It's exactly.
Yeah, what's the point is, the accused and the ones who are supposed to look for justice are the same. It's just a criminal syndicate. This committee, which is led by also there's Themba Muliswa, who is trying to be a hero, like he's clean. He's the most, I can say what? Is the person who is known in our country as the person who extorts from other politicians. If maybe he knows something about you, he has got to call you and he wants money. If you don't pay him, he's going to expose you. So the person who is actually prominent in that committee, Themba Muliswa, is the West Zimbabwe would ever need as a citizen.
I want to bring in another discussion that I want us to look into. Meanwhile, the coalition of Zimbabwean human rights groups has claimed that police officers in Zimbabwe are still using arbitrary arrests to intimidate citizens. The Zimbabwe Human Rights NGO Forum is calling on President Emmerson Mnangagwa to end abuses perpetrated by the country's police officers. Releasing its latest human rights report, the forum said it had received complaints about 52 unlawful arrests and harassment in 2017. The NGOs have claimed a lack of justice and accountability in cases of police brutality. And now still joining us in studio for this is Tinashe Jonas, President of Ideal Zimbabwe, and we also have Amos Dangwa, President of the Economic Reform Assembly. And now I'm going to come to Amos. We've heard what the NGO has said. What are your reactions around this report?
Well, basically, from our structures, which are in Zimbabwe, well, it's their report. I'm actually getting to hear about it as we speak. which is it's a concern. If it is still happening, it's actually we call upon Zimbabweans to actually think about what's happening, the future of our kids. This is no more about these current people, the current guys who are actually ruling the country. It's more about the future of our kids. We can continue, we can fight, we can do anything, but are we making any progress as Zimbabweans? We are not. You can find few individuals who can actually perpetuate for all this kind of, the violence and everything, but that's not going to give us any progress. As much as we can put human rights and they start fighting and all that stuff, it's not giving us any. People we need to acknowledge. We need to accept that Zimbabwe is in a crisis. And as much as there are human rights which are being abused, we need to acknowledge that there's a problem. And that problem can only be emanated by us Zimbabweans, not any international organization, but by us. So people need to accept that, human rights, they can be abused. Definitely, ZANU-PF has been abusing us every now and then, but some of the things, if we are to bring all these dockets, I can tell you we can fill up the whole place, the whole studio with dockets, but it's not going to give us any progress.
Let me bring in Tinashe into this conversation. Yeah. The Zimbabwean Human Rights NGO Forum is calling on President Emmerson Mnangagwa to end the abuses perpetrated by the country's police officers. Has much been done to adhere to this call made by the Human Rights NGO?
Okay. If ZANU-PF and Mnangagwa can respect human rights, it means they're out of power. Because in a democratic country, people choose who they want to lead them. In Zimbabwe, ZANU-PF doesn't even have more than 10% support in the country. Their support, 90% or whatever it is percentage, is augmented by the military. So the mere fact that you rule by decree, you rule by the army, your tool is not democracy. Your tool is fear. Zimbabweans, even, to talk politics openly, they can't do it. They do it on social media, whereby they are using, fake accounts. Because you can disappear, and the government doesn't investigate. Emmerson Mnangagwa has been Mugabe's dirty handman in assassinating, in killing people. He's the most dangerous person, actually more than Mugabe. So, when you are an agent of the devil, when you are an angel of the devil, you can't change. Why do we pray? We pray because Satan would never repent. If Satan was going to wake up any day and repent, then there was no need of going to church. But we go to church from the day we are born until we die, because the devil won't repent. Emmerson Mnangagwa, it was a change of face from Mugabe to Mnangagwa. Their difference is the face and the names. The world would understand that Mnangagwa is the most dangerous person. And now, it was done just to engage the international community so that they can be fooled and they can come like now Britain is like, we here, they are now believing in Mnangagwa. It's just, there's no better devil. So Zimbabweans, this is the time I am here as the civilian president and Mnangagwa can't challenge me because he put himself as a president. I'm there to represent Zimbabweans and say, let's do action. Action, not elections. Let's shut down on the 13th of June the Zimbabwean embassy in Pretoria. From there, let's go to Zimbabwe to where they change money because the Reserve Bank is now owned by Mnangagwa. Let's shut down the road port. Let's shut down the Reserve Bank. We need the border. We need to do action now. If they are there to kill us, they must kill us. Because we can't die slowly in our country. No one is a better Zimbabwean. When we say I do fire revolution, it's saying Zimbabweans, let's rise and fight. We are on our own. SADC is ignoring us. Even now, SADC can declare the election free and fair. AU is waiting to declare free and fair. In Kenya, you saw SADC declared free and fair. AU declared free and fair. The High Court said they are not fair. They were null and void. Then the rerun was done without the reforms.
Now, I understand that you are saying that you're standing for the people
Yes.
and you're there for the people.
And we need a revolution, not election.
And understand that there are people who are for this party that you are actually vying for, campaigning for. Now, as a party president, have you heard from people whether or not the cases that they opened, I don't know, I'm assuming with police when it comes to human rights, did anybody investigate?
No.
What happened?
No. For example, let me give you a recent thing. There's a guy called Itai Zamara. He disappeared almost 2 years ago. This guy was a critic of Robert Mugabe. After disappearing, even now Mnangagwa is a new president, they were given pressure by US to investigate the case. They just open. You know what? You can't steal something or you can't kill someone and then tomorrow you lead the investigation yourself. I mean, we are under a military rule. What the military knows is to kill. A soldier is not trained to investigate or whatsoever. So in our country, there can't be human rights unless because the government itself is captured. ZANU-PF is in control of the intelligence. The intelligence are used to spy on who is saying bad about Mnangagwa, who is saying bad about what. So it's Zimbabweans now to rise and free our state. Because we can't do elections in a country that there's no government. There's no government in Zimbabwe. So it's only drama. Like now you can see there's Chamisa versus Kupe. There's MDC Gogo. There's MDC Chamisa. There's everything is just a script. It's a soap opera that won't end. But the reality is the life of Zimbabweans. Zimbabweans are suffering. That's the reality. The only reality in Zimbabwe is that people are suffering. When we talk of politics, we are in Hollywood. That's Black Panther, ZANU-PF, Black Panther election. Everything is just, Hollywood production. So it's high time Zimbabweans, and in politics in Zimbabwe, like opposition party like MDC, the official, opposition party, they treat elections as employment. When they are campaigning now, Chamisa and friends, they want to be a councillor, they want to be a mayor, they want to be a member of parliament. In Zimbabwe right now, politics is taken as employment opportunity. When someone gets a job, they are fine. The ordinary, they are just being used to vote. After that, it ends there.
Let me bring in Amos into this conversation. What role have you been playing when it comes to the abuses of human rights?
Okay. What we have actually noted within our organization, for every individuals, when we find that we are being beaten up and all that stuff, we had one incident where it happened in Keta, where one of our members was beaten up, and we actually encouraged him to get into the police, because we are not in a situation where we have to fight each other. We say the biggest problem with ourselves is the economy, and our only enemy is the economy. We don't need to fight each other. Everyone has got a problem that the economy is the main figure which has actually made us to the way we are. So what is it that we need to do? Is to find a solution to our current, poverty situation. To say, okay, how is it that we can actually move out of this? Is it that we have to fight? Is it that you have to bully the other person so that he can support? No, it's not the issue. The issue is to find a solution to our economic situation. And that situation requires each and every one of us to work together for the betterment of the country. And your issue of fighting each other is not going to yield anything. You can have all the hooliganism and all that, but it's not going to yield anything. So what we have in our members, we have encouraged people, there is no need for you to retaliate. If you find that there's a problem, just go to the police. Find the police, and it might take long in responding, but that's the only option. The more, when you are fighting even your neighbor, if you find that he's raising his voice, if you keep quiet, there's nothing. You lose power. So that's the issue. You can fight, but the moment you continue fighting back, the more the thing goes out of hand.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me in studio. Unfortunately, that's all that we can discuss at this point.
Thank you.
And that was Tinashe Jonas, President of Ideal Zimbabwe. And we also had Amos Dangwa, President of the Economic Reform Assembly. And we were also just discussing a few points there about Zimbabwe, that barely a month before the elections in Zimbabwe, there have been some hiccups that have started coming to the fore. And Tinashe Jonas, leader of the newly launched Ideal Zimbabwe Party, has alleged that there's capture of the judiciary, army, police and the state media by the ruling ZANU-PF party. But right now, moving on